Welcome to another Coffee with Samso. We're here today at the UWA Club here in Crawley at University of Western Australia, where we speak with ASX companies and their leaders, talking about what's been happening and their strategies. Today I've got Brad Underwood here from Galileo Mining to basically give us an update on what they've been doing. Since the last time we spoke, there's a lot of changes happening. So, Brad, tell us what's been happening.
It's good to be here with you again, Noel. It's a beautiful surrounds here at UWA. Yeah. We've been doing a lot since we last spoke, which I think from memory is perhaps 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And we've undertaken or continue to do some drilling in the Fraser Range. We are looking for nickel copper sulphides at that location. I'm not sure how familiar your listeners are with Galileo. But we are a nickel copper exploration company focused in WA, and we've also got some palladium prospects we can talk about later on as well. So the main thing we've been doing is, of course, the drilling program we started about 2 weeks ago. We are halfway through that. We've released an update based on the results we've got to date, and hopefully we'll be finished that program quite soon and able to update the market again on the remainder of the drill program.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the results that you had, because we've been following your story, and obviously you guys at the Albany Fraser, you've been drilling and hit and miss, but it's still sort of on target. But the latest one, you sort of mentioned that you've got a couple of meters of massive sulphides disseminated, and you mentioned that there are some things that you have noted that in the way where the sulphide sits in the type of rocks, the sort of felsic and the mafic type of rocks. Maybe you can sort of share with us what the significance of that is.
Yes, in the Fraser Range, the known deposits are associated with ultramafic rocks, and what that means is that they are high in magnesium. It's just a chemical element that occurs deep in the earth and frequently is associated with nickel. So that type of mineralisation is well understood in the Fraser Range. What we've intercepted, and remember we've only just touched the very top of the EM conductor, we've shown that it's related to sulphide. However, that sulphide is predominantly pyrrhotite with chalcopyrite. So we aren't seeing the nickel that is typical for the Fraser Range mineralisation that we know, and we are seeing a more evolved type of rock. So in general terms, we would expect that rock to be emplaced at a higher level. So remember, these rocks have come from deep within the earth and made their way towards surface. The more nickel-rich rocks are from emplaced at a deeper level, and these are perhaps emplaced at a higher level closer to surface some billion years ago. So as part of the development of the rocks in that area, we are seeing more copper-rich rocks and more quartz intrusions. That's very unusual for the Fraser Range to see that amount of quartz. We've logged it on site as a tonalite, which is a geological term for a intrusive rock that's high in quartz. Very unusual for the Fraser Range. We are unsure of the economic significance of this, but it looks like we are dealing with more of the copper end member of the type of deposits that could occur in that area, and it's very exciting for us.
Okay, I mean, it's interesting because you are, when we say felsic, obviously we're talking about more acidic type chemistry, lighter color, I suppose. So the chemistry is very different, and you're seeing the mineralization in these rock types. In terms of significance, I know you say that it's very different to the Fraser, but how, when you look at the geology as well as geophysics, obviously these EM targets are working in a sense that they're identifying the right kind of things for you, and when you drill you are getting the results. Has that sort of boosted your thinking, or has that sort of said, last time we saw this, but maybe we should go back to that, or a case of, that's what that signature meant? Is that sort of any light bulb moments come through?
Yeah, one of the outcomes of the program to date has been our success in identifying sulphides, and that's really important. So to date we haven't hit any graphite associated with EM conductors. We've had no false positives in terms of identifying an EM conductor and finding that it's graphite. Everything we've intercepted in the Fraser Range to date that has been an EM conductor has been sulphide. So we've hit our previous target at Lantern was sulphide related, and that's a big step because we're going for those mineralized systems which have a chance of hosting nickel or copper or other metals. It's very encouraging for us to be able to do that. So it means that we are continuing in the background to do more EM surveying, building up more targets, and we are hoping that eventually one of those targets that we hit will be sulphide. Well, we've already hit ones that are sulphide related, but will be obviously economic. High grades, that's really what we're chasing.
Okay. And one of the things that we've been talking about, your current project, and where the S2 drill hole was I can see that in your map, in your announcement. How does that correlate with each other? I know the term neurology gets thrown around a lot, but I think in some cases it's sort of misused for a case like yours. Can you just share with us your thoughts on that?
Well, in this instance, it looks to be the part of the same mineralized system, which shows how strike extensive it is. So one of our drill holes is around 500 meters south of where the S2 drill hole was put down. They hit sulphide at depth. It looks like most of the mineralized system is on our tenement. At a guess, I'd say 95% of it looks to be on our tenement. We've skimmed the top of that mineralized system. They've skimmed the very northern edge of that system. In all cases, it has been related to sulphide, and it just remains to be seen what is at depth in the heart of that mineralized system. So one of the other differences with these copper mineralized events is that there is zonation. So we'd expect to see variances in grade and thickness over both the strike length and at depth. And that's the reasoning and rationale behind drilling deeper into the strongest part of the EM signal. We'd expect that strongly conductive body to be a thicker part of the sulphide and hopefully carrying much higher grades.
Can a question be asked as to if there is a controlling factor? Is it structure? Is it chemistry? Is it geology? Is this too early for you guys to, put a statement, your thoughts on it?
It's a little bit early to say, but we did note in our announcement that we have the intrusive rocks, both mafic and felsic, and intrusions almost always occur around structures. So it's probably related to a structure within the host rock that's opened up and allowed these intrusions to come in.
Okay. And the last thought I had when going through your announcements was those conducting numbers. To me, there are big numbers, but I don't actually understand what they mean. Obviously, they have a reason and they have a meaning, but can you share with us what those numbers would indicate to you?
Within geology circles, we sometimes refer to geophysics as a dark art. Everything seems to be in a black box, and then a number comes out of the black box.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you've got.
Yeah.
I have perhaps a better appreciation of geophysics. I studied that at university, and I was on a path to become a geophysicist before
to the dark side,
until I found the right way and ended up being a geologist. So I've got a reasonable understanding of what they're talking about. And what they're doing is they're modelling the response that they see from the guys who have been on the ground and taken those readings. So it's a very objective readings that are taken on the ground. A current is run through the ground, it's objectively measured, and then there's an element of subjectivity to the interpretation and the modelling. So that does come down to the geophysicist's experience in the region. We've been using the same guy who's for the last 10 years. Previously I was with the Creasy Group. The Creasy Group's now a major shareholder. Our geophysicist has been operating in this area for over 10 years and has a good understanding of how to model the results from this area. It depends where you are geologically within Western Australia about how these models are put together, and the conductivity readings, which are measured in Siemens, is a measure of the strength of the conductor. It also gives you a depth. However, the sulphides, which we hope, and in the cases we've encountered so far, create that conductor can be nickel or copper rich, or they might just be sulfide. So it's impossible to tell what the source of the conductor is without drilling, and the strength of the conductor is not an accurate gauge as to the economic potential of that target. So you've got a conductor that you've just got to drill them.
Yeah, that's why they call it the drilling truth
machine. That's it. So we know what shapes and size and geometry of conductors should be a good target. So we've been able to differentiate those which look to be sedimentary from those which have more chance of being sulfide. But other than that, you really just have to go and drill it.
I mean, obviously, you guys have the Albany Fraser, and you were at one point talking about the Norseman project and things. What's happening there? What's happening with all other projects?
We have been doing soil sampling at Norseman over the last few months. We made a release a few months ago about the prospectivity of the Norseman area for palladium and platinum. We've undertaken some soil sampling since then, and we're waiting for the results of that. We've also announced that we are looking to start air core drilling either in September or in October, depending on the availability of the drill contractor. So the air core drilling will be the follow-up of the soil sampling and the prospective zones that we've identified, and then we'll come back later with an RC and diamond rig to follow those up as well. So we are busy in both fronts, Fraser Range and at Norseman, and the PGE or platinum group element space, which includes palladium, is very popular at the moment because the prices of those metals is high.
That's probably a good time to talk about that. But what is that? I mean, look, we all know about the Julimar discovery, and everyone talks about Julimar-like, and nickel copper PGE became a term that everyone sort of can say it smoothly now without any stutter. Can you share with us what the hype is about, that term, that space? Obviously, Julimar is looking like a world-class or near world-class project, or at least something significant anyway. So, but what's the hype about?
You might remember a few years ago there was an issue with Volkswagen in Europe and the emissions from their exhaust. So they were
being naughty.
They were being a little bit naughty, and that became quite a scandal for them. Part of the repercussions of that scandal was a move towards more petrol-based combustion engines. Petrol-based combustion engines use a catalytic converter which captures some of the pollution that goes out of the exhaust. That catalytic converter uses more palladium. The diesel engines use a converter that has more platinum. So the change in demand for palladium based on the type of catalytic converter has had a very substantial impact on the price of palladium. That's one of the reasons. The other thing that's happened is there has been a reduction in palladium and platinum supply over the past few years. South Africa produces most of the world's platinum and palladium. If I get my numbers correct, I think they've dropped about 10% per year in production over the past few years. Okay. So we've got a situation where a huge increase in demand is matched with a decreasing supply, and the price goes up.
Yeah, I recently read something that there is now a new use of palladium in the EV part of the cars. I'm not 100% unsure on how that works, but I remember reading something about that as well. So I guess that could factor in with with what you just said in terms of the supply of palladium as well. So in terms of palladium, looking for palladium and stuff, what's the geology like? Is it similar to what we're doing for nickel? Is it just sits in the same space?
It is a related metal, so it is often associated with nickel, often associated with ultramafic rocks which contain nickel. And with the komatiite exploration and the nickel that's come from West Australia in the past, PGEs have often been a good guide to where those nickel-rich deposits can occur. Yep. But in the past, they've never been a substantial reservoir of that type of metal. So we've used it historically as a way to explore for nickel sulfide because there is that association. But we've seen with projects like Julimar, where there is a huge amount of platinum and palladium associated with that rock type.
Okay. Going forward, obviously your share price is doing fantastic.
Can always be better.
Can always be better.
I think with the results that we hope to deliver over the next month or two, we might be able to improve from where we are.
Yeah, I think I've looked at your share price over the time, and ever since we've sort of been doing Coffee Samsos, it's been fluctuating, but it's one of the stocks that's been fairly steady, and you don't see any sellouts and low troughs and things like that. Talking to the new person that's watching this and saying, hey, that's quite good, and I like to be in this space. What's in store for them for the next 12, 18 months in terms of news flow? We spoke about your drilling results, or your current drilling, but what's in store going forward?
I think a lot of our investors can recognise Galileo as a company that is very much focused on exploration. So if you look at our major shareholders, Creasy Group, IGO, and a number of other high net worth individuals, we have some quite solid backing, and we're very much focused on making discoveries. So while our share price has been relatively stable, it fluctuates a little bit around drilling programs, it's because of the support we have from our major shareholders who want to see us make a discovery. So we have the medium to long term goal, and in this business, medium term is probably 6 months or so.
Yeah. Now it is.
Not that long at all.
Yeah.
But we're very much focused on making discoveries.
Yeah.
So whereas perhaps other companies might be focused on the shorter term, we are focused on that long term goal of making an economic discovery, which is the only way for our major shareholders to benefit. So that's why our price is relatively stable. And then with the news flow that we've got coming out over the next 6 months, we've got the drill results from the Fraser Range, we've got soil sampling coming out of Norseman. We are continuing to do a lot of EM surveying, which is building up that target pipeline. And then we've got the drilling at Norseman as well for the palladium and platinum. And we've got the deeper drilling that we need to do at the Fraser Range to find out what's at that location. So we've got a lot of news flow over the next 6 months, and we're well funded to support that as well.
I like Galileo for the fact that, for the length of time that we've been doing this, and I've seen it, but nothing's really moved from what you've said. It's been drill, this, that, and nothing's really shifted from the strategy. It's always, whereas a lot of times you can see the fluctuation in strategies, and I think you're right. Those guys that are behind you are long-term players, like the Creasy guys and IGO. They're long-term, right? They're not short-term.
Yeah.
And we're talking real long-term, not the market long-term.
Yeah.
So I think that from my point of view, I think it's really good stock to see in the sense of what you guys are doing. You are coming up the goods, and it's probably one of those technical companies that you can get to learn a lot about what you guys do and understand why you do it. But look, Brad, fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Any last minute grabs to get someone to buy more stock and move it to something a bit more 40, 45s?
I'd like to point out that since we listed in 2018, we've completed 13 drilling programs. So you did mention that we have the consistent strategy, which has always been about making discoveries. So we feel the more drilling programs we complete and the targets that we have are good quality, eventually we should meet with success.
Yeah, I think I can't add any more to that, because I think what you see in the announcements and it's pretty much steady as she goes, and the results are and a lot of this drilling, people who are new to this industry, you got to understand that just because you got one not so good numbers drilling program doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that they understand that doesn't work and something else probably is a better target. But Brad, thank you, and always appreciate learn probably the best geology 101 coffee Samso we have.
No problem, happy to help.
Thank you.